My name is Andrew Talbot, and today I'm going to take you through the challenges of managing orders for personalised products. At Gateway 3D, we obviously specialise in the mass customisation business and spend a lot of time on our interfaces and showing you how you can customise products online. But there's another side to this. If you can't make them effectively, then it's almost irrelevant if you can customize them online because you've got to make a profit. So the other side of what we do is what we call the Gateway OMS. And I'm going to take you through this morning in this brief presentation how we make it profitable. So I guess I just start with, why would you bother to make personalized products? Well, it's a fast growing market. Mass customization is affecting many industries all around the world. So if you don't, your competitors will. The trend for print on demand is also growing as people get more concerned about inventory and they're keen to print stuff as they need it. Ultimately, normally, certainly on the personalized side, they're higher margin products. So if you can get the production right, there's good money in it. And most of the modern equipment makes this easier to do. I've just returned from the Drupa fair in Dusseldorf, and the modern printing equipment is amazing, and it's very much focused on mass customization. And from a pure business point of view, in many cases, it opens up lots more opportunities for you. So let's start with what is different about producing customizable or personalized products. Ultimately, you're looking to make a batch of one. So market leaders like Vistaprint last year did 80 million batches of one. So that's obviously very different from making 1,000 of one design when you're making one of one design. Most orders will be received online, so it's websites that deliver you the orders. So ultimately, you cannot afford to spend too long on artwork generation or approval, because otherwise you'll lose money on a batch of one. Artwork retrieval also needs automating. Even if you've got all the artwork on your server, for a production operative to have to go and find it wastes valuable time. And if you're obviously processing more orders in batches of one, it means your QC and your monitoring processes must be robust and clear. In some cases, using paper job sheets could prove impractical if you're doing volumes of thousands, and packaging and dispatch times need reducing. Because again, you're dispatching more individual orders, you've got to have automated processes. Customer service, again, multiplies because you've got a higher volume of orders, so you need an efficient way of making that work better. And although you've reduced your inventory by creating on demand, you still need to make sure you've got good stock of the base products, because without them, you have no stock of anything. So let's jump in. Start with a little bit more detail. This is only a short presentation and not a full demonstration, but your options. We've already said that most orders come from the web, but in all businesses, people do want to place orders in other ways. So what we've developed with Gateway OMS is a range of different ways. Let's just say the web is people take an order online, put it into your system. Great. People may also want to ring up and place orders. Now, obviously, you couldn't send an image via the telephone, but what you could do is give your name. And within OMS, we've got the ability then for people to type that in and send a proof out to you. When the customer, then approves that proof, that goes straight into your workflow. So that's a good way of automating the telephone side. Mail order, people obviously then write things down. Your staff then type into the system and it automatically creates the artwork. You could also link that to a proof depending on what you think the error rate is and the clarity. We're now getting personalized products in a shop. So in-store terminals, and we've developed them on kiosks, are becoming more and more popular. So people will accept, the product delivered to them the next day. So that's just like having a website within a shop environment. And probably the most common method is imported orders. Now, with OMS, we have an API, so people that have their own websites can push orders straight into the system. We can import from CSV or XML. We can even, as it suggests at the end here, extract orders and artwork from emails and put them into the system. So this is all great, But the beauty of the OMS system is it can then do some post-processing. So in the case of images, if you were doing a website for an artist, they can just give you one image on file, and you can then change that image automatically depending on what product it's going on. If someone sends you a spreadsheet for Personalised that's got a name in it, we can automatically create multiple artwork for all the different names on a spreadsheet. So it's not really just about importing orders into a system, it's about then being able to automatically generate the artwork. So OMS does all of that for you. So let's take the next example. When you're doing a batch of one, you kind of sometimes need to put them together to make them more efficient. So companies like Vistaprint, although they're doing lots of batches of one, they're not doing lots of batches. They batch all of those orders of one together automatically. And this is an area where OMS is exceedingly strong. It allows you to set up your own batching rules. And this is quite a complex area, but let me give you a quick run through on it. You obviously name a batch, you decide what products are suitable for going on that batch template. So say all business cards, all mugs, whatever it might be. You then set up the artwork format you want to produce. Cleverly as well, we also route by country, so you can push orders depending on where they're going to be delivered to. You can decide the number of pages you want, so you could have 10 products in a batch, 1,000 products in a batch. You can then decide if you're doing multiple-sided products. So we've even done options lately where you're printing the fronts in one batch and the backs in another batch and combining them. You then can upload a background with crop marks and color registration. And you can also select the positions on the batch template. So you can decide, where each one particularly lays out on the template. You can even then decide which websites or customers you put in the same batch. But the concept of that is it gets away from this option of having to print one. So let's have a look. Artwork generation is the next thing that's key. You've got to be able to automate artwork generation and retrieval. And this is an example here. That order's come in. People have obviously filled in some text, and then it's generated artwork in the right format. I've used, on this extreme example, we've created all the artwork automatically. So we've created JPEGs, PNGs, and in this case, because it's a multi-page item, where it's got different stuff on different pages, we then can create a merged PDF. So an example of that would be a greetings card where page 1 and 4 are printed together and page 2 and 3 are printed together. So that's covering off really how we generate the artwork. We can also do lots of clever things like putting a white backing behind things, putting a cut line on things, or just passing it into the RIP software for even more sophisticated processing. But that's the sort of thing you absolutely need to do. Then the next thing that's interesting, we talked earlier about job sheets and whether you need a paper job sheet anymore. Well, within OMS, here's an idea of all the different places we can generate a barcode. So let's use this example on a job sheet. So if I go here, let's come out of this order and see here, these are all jobs at different stages in my demo system. So on here, and obviously this would be done automatically, but I'm going to do it manually. I'm going to generate a job sheet for this particular job, and that's got a barcode on it. Now that barcode can be scanned to download the artwork. It could be scanned to say it's past QC. It could be scanned to say it's been dispatched. It just updates the status of the orders that we were looking at earlier. So this is the one I think we just did. So if we go into that order and we look at the history, we'll see there that it's moved from order received to in production because we've generated a sheet. And as we scan it at various points, it moves through the process automatically. What's quite interesting and nice on this area, we're then able to go in here and say, got a problem, need to rebatch it, print job was poor quality. Hit save, and then that will then be logged in here, and it's gone to rebatch. And cutting really into customer service, which we'll talk about in a minute, if something was customer said damaged when arrived, and we could then put that into QC query, hit save, and in the history here, you can see that process is ordered, and it even tells me who's written the comment. So you could then have a person in the team responsible for authorizing rebatches, etc. But it's key really that that process is transparent and automatically updates. So that's from a barcode on a job sheet. You also, when you create your production batches, can have a barcode under every item. Or I don't know if you saw, but one of the options was also to have a cover sheet where you can have a barcode for a whole batch. So if something goes through smoothly and there's 100 items, you can scan one barcode and it will automatically update everything. This is one of the really clever ones. If you can actually incorporate the barcode in the artwork. So that works well for something like a greetings card where you can put the barcode on the back. The beauty of that is it needs no job sheet. The job sheet is inbuilt into the product. The same scanning applies to all of these things. Then you've got, as we were discussing, on the production template, the production sheet is really when it batches up multiple jobs for a particular machine rather than a particular process, but similar concepts. And finally, another interesting one is instead of having a job sheet, you can create a sticky label. So the system prints off sticky labels. You affix that to the blank base product, like the underneath of a mug or on a t-shirt, so it can be peeled off afterwards. And then that product needs no job sheet. It doesn't worry if a job sheet gets lost because you can scan that as it moves around the factory. So a good example of that would be QC processing and monitoring, which we've talked. So you could scan stuff as someone has QC'd it. So then you'd know the name of the person who'd QC'd it, and it's kind of that protection before it's dispatched. What's interesting in this particular case is, can you look here at the top, there's a red message saying this is a multi-part job. So it reminds you, and then you can put that in a pigeonhole based on the number it's been given. And when the other part arrives, you go to the pigeonhole because you've already got the number and put the two parts together. That brings me really nicely onto my next point, which is dispatch automation. Because obviously, if you're doing lots of smalls and someone has ordered them together, you don't want to waste or have two postage charges. So it's very important that when you create that batch sheet and you scan it, you do know about the multi-part. Now, within our OMS system, when you scan things, you scan that code, it can do various different tasks. So it could just print a sticky label for the address. It could post it into the carrier system, which then prints the label and the manifest. Or it could simply update someone that order's ready. So there are lots of different things it can do. But as we discussed earlier, you have to make your dispatch automated because you're dispatching 1,000 different jobs rather than one of 1,000. But if you automate this process, again, it can be equally as quick. Now, there are obviously other systems available, and the beauty of our OMS system, you can either use the tools that we've discussed today, or you can use this system to push into other production systems. So we integrate with hundreds already of production systems around the world. So we might just pass the finished artwork and the order details into another system. It's entirely up to you, really. What we're doing is providing an easy route for people to fulfill mass customized products. So I think we've kind of touched on the customer service side, and you've seen the audit trail and how it works and how I can enter more notes. And clearly this is a bit of a whistle-stop demonstration, but the point of this really is to explain to you the different points that you've got that need consideration when making mass customized products. So the last one that OMS covers for you too is it will manage the stock of blanks because, as discussed, although you've got a lot more SKUs, you've got to have them in stock or you can't make the product. So this very clearly, as the orders comes in, tells you how many you've got in stock, how many have been allocated, and how many you've got due in. You can even use this as a fairly simplistic, I need 100 more of those, hit the button and it will send orders to people either automatically or create a CSV sheet for them, depending on what industry they're in. It's also a quick way of booking in stock. So ultimately, that takes you on a whistle-stop tour of how we've come up with ideas to eliminate the challenges of making orders for personalized products. We will publish this on the website, or you could visit gateway3d.com/print to review it in more details. Hope you found it of interest.